24, 30 and 30, 30 short stories in 30 days. My name is Jeff Wells with Beyond the Rings, Olympic Pen Training Evangelism Ministry, and I'm here with my friends Destiny Killian and Brandon Long, both MBU students.
Shine on.
Destiny, you're not going to play along? And that's kind of the tag phrase for MBU if you're not familiar.
Yeah, I'm not
And no, you've never heard that one before, have you?
no.
And
Go Spartans.
that's right. So
Go Spartans.
they are MBU students, and they had the privilege and torture, maybe both, to be with me in Paris 24 as part of our ground team for all 20 days. Tony got out of town early. He was the smart man, I think, in the
Yes,
group.
he was.
Yes, he was.
But you guys got to hang out with me the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
and we're sharing some stories from your guys' perspective. So, Brandon, lay it on us. What's your story today?
Yeah, so this was actually the day that Tony actually left. So August 3rd and 4th were the days that they ran the men's and women's road cycling race. Men's on the 3rd, women's on the 4th. And Tony unfortunately left us on the 4th. He had to go back home, be with his family, and we were sad
You were stuck with me.
because I was stuck with Jeff.
Yes.
Or, sorry,
Sure, we were sad.
we were stuck with Jeff.
Yes.
But both races went by our hotel, and instead of staying at our hotel like we did for the men's race, we decided let's see them go past more than once. And so we actually went to the Louvre that day, and
Which I thought that was a pretty cool setup with
yes.
the Olympic event right there in the
Yeah.
Louvre. Right, I mean, it was a pretty cool scene.
Well, you had the Olympic event on the road, then you had the rings on the ground, and then the
The
Louvre.
Louvre.
Yeah, it was
So
it was a cool thing.
it was, and so we watched them go out. We were waiting for him to come back, and with cycling, you don't want to lose your spot, especially if you're right up against the fence like I was. And so that's the prime spot to get pictures, get videos of them riding by. And I'm standing there along the fence. Destiny was standing on a block because
I'm short.
she
so
said it, not
sorry.
me. Because she's a little shorter than I am, and so she wanted to be able to see. So she was guarding our stuff while standing on cinder block. And I'm standing there. We're texting back and forth because we weren't going to yell at each other over the crowd that was there because it was a pretty good sized crowd.
It was, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I hear someone go, "Are you a pin trader?" And I'm like, I turn around and I see it turns out it's a mom and a son. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, well, my son would like to trade a pin with you. I'm like, okay. So I'm almost kneeling on the ground.
Mhm.
There's photographic evidence. Talking to the little boy, his name's Luca. He couldn't have been more than 6. And his sister Emmy came up about halfway in right after I traded a pin with Luca. And their mom Josie was there the entire time with Luca, and so I traded a pin with Luca. I got a little Mexican flag from him for one of my Team USA pins, and I looked up at their mom after I was done trading a pin. I'm like, "Can I just okay if I just give him a pin?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And so I pull out our pin, and immediately as I pull it out, Emma and Luca are almost fighting over it. And I'm like, hold on. You gotta let me tell you the story behind it first. And so I went into a full gospel presentation with them. And like, so who gets it? Well, actually, I've got one for all of you. And so I handed that one to Luca because he was the one I was originally talking with, handed one to Emmy, and then I gave one with my card on it. Or actually, it was your card at this point. I ran out of to their mom, Josie. And so going through the gospel, and I get to the end, and I'll never forget what mom said. I finished the gospel. He looks down at them and goes, "You know that's true, right?"
Oh, wow.
And so basically, um, Jeff had already talked to them. Little did I know, already given them, but they got another one, and
That's
so
okay.
and had a more impactful encounter with me.
Yeah, because I was
Because you were
rushed.
waiting for our church to call you to do a live stream report
Right.
back home. And for those of you who don't know, Paris is 7 hours ahead, so our church was calling him at 10:15 a.m. Louis, which was 5:15 p.m. in France. And so we were um, getting ready to watch the race come back, and yeah, I had that great encounter with Luca, Emmy, and Josie.
Yeah. So in that time, you were on that block, and it's not just a little cinder block. It's kind of like I would liken it to a light pole lamp block.
Yes,
I mean, it was 3 feet tall. I mean, it's a big
at
block,
least. Yeah.
and it was a great place for you to be, being your stature. And
You can say short.
well, yeah,
Shortness.
yeah.
Okay.
So you got a picture of him sharing with them? Is that, did you get it?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a very not like the best picture of him. It's like he said, he was kneeling and
right,
you could see him.
right,
So like that was like the
Yeah,
whole point.
but you couldn't really see Luca. Luca was kind of hiding behind his mom.
yeah,
But if you look at their feet, you can see his feet,
yeah.
so you know he's there.
Well, you know what I find interesting about both the men's cycling event and that event is when we decided to stay near the hotel that day, I thought, well, we're not going to have that many encounters,
Hmm.
but we actually did.
Yeah, I
Did.
We
gave thanks
found
to
that
the
bench right there on the street,
right
and
outside that delicious bakery.
we suffered for the
Oh,
Lord, with eating all that French pastries. It was awful.
oh, it was
Um,
not
And
good
that
at
was
all.
fun because then you had the one little girl's family
yeah,
who ended
Yeah.
up photobombing you.
yes.
Oh, yes, yes,
Valentine,
yes.
Valentine, yeah, yeah,
And
little girl about
then
8 or 9 came from the other side of the street
yep,
and it's like, "What are you doing?" And
yep.
so got to share with her, and it was so neat because with her, it was, I'm like, "Well, yeah, we've got a pin, and it tells about God's love for us through His Son Jesus." And I remember her saying, she goes, "I'm a Christian, I just haven't gotten baptized yet." Do you remember her saying? I remember
Yep,
that.
I
So
remember that.
it was such a cool thing. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the cards you mentioned. We
Mhm.
we 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 gave out cards similar to this. You can't see it very well, but it's just a business size card. But we make it that is open like a tent card, and the whole inside is the gospel presentation. The front is our logo, and it says "What's Beyond the Rings," and then on the back is a QR code. And if you scan the QR code, it would take you to the Beyond the Rings website, beyondtherings.net, and specifically beyondtherings.world would take you to the website where Brandon and I had spent a morning down at Washington University in St. Louis recording at the Olympic rings there. And I did an entire gospel presentation using the 3 circles so they could hear it again. Or if we didn't have time to go through the gospel with them, they could hear it for the first time. One of
Or
the things I don't know if I've told you guys since I've been back is weekly, because this is a service that I pay for.
mhm.
It's not much. Um, but I get a weekly report of our QR scans. And the one we got last week, we had 4 scans. 2 of them were in China,
Nice.
Cool.
right? So you never know. We were giving them out left and right with the pens.
Well, and then we met another Jeff.
It's a
Um,
great
Yeah.
name.
I don't know about that, but he was a great guy. Strong believer. Who took like 125, maybe 150 pins from us in 2 days,
Yeah.
and we gave him a bag of like 100, maybe 75, and has down to 3. He was down to 3 the next day.
So the thing about this Jeff was he was a pin trader in the pin trading area they had set up in the
Mm-hmm.
Chomp,
In
Champ
Park to Nations.
Park to Nations, and in this room, which was not very big, it wasn't
No,
big for the amount of
no.
people who were in there. There were like a dozen, you know,
Eh,
pre-approved traders that had tables, and
eh,
they had their stuff
Yeah,
out to trade and sell. And Jeff was one of those guys, and Jeff was the one who's been to 13 Olympics.
but it was 18.
Maybe Jeff's the 18, the other guy was 13.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what it was. And so found out he was a believer, very excited about us being there. But he knew me because remember when we
Yeah,
first
because
came in
you met
in
at
Sochi.
Sochi in
Yeah,
2014. Yeah,
yeah,
we walked up to his table and I saw the name Jeff, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm here with a Jeff." He goes, "Who?" I said, "Jeff Welsh." He goes, "You need to bring him to me
yeah.
before you guys leave." I met him in Russia, and I'm like, "Okay."
You guys had it happen to you twice because you had
Yes,
another person say, "I know Jeff. Where's Jeff
yes,
at?" And
yes.
yeah, yeah,
That was in the South.
That was at
South
South
Africa
Africa.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but this Jeff, this pin trader Jeff, what we ended up doing that day. This was the first day we met him.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, "This is what we're doing. This is our pin." And we talked a long time. The guy sitting next to him
Mm-hmm.
was a pin producer out of Australia, and our hope and prayer, we believe we'll be working with him for future pin productions. Because he's like, "I know what you guys are doing. We're all about it. Cheaper and lighter and everything else."
Yeah.
And but you came out to me and
Mm-hmm.
said, "Why don't you ask Jeff to see if he would take our bag of pens and give them away?" Like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
great idea. So sure enough, I'm like, "Hey Jeff, would you give away our pen to everybody who comes by your table?" He goes, "Oh, absolutely." And so we told him about the QR code. He goes, "That's what I'll do. I'll tell him, you want a free pen? You got to scan the QR code."
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of walked away that day and
Not
left him with a
knowing.
big old bag of 50 to 75 pens. It was a big bag.
Maybe 100.
Yeah. And sure enough, the next day we saw him. It was the next day, right? Or
It was
2
the it
days?
was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was so we went to Park Donations the Thursday, Friday, Saturday before we left.
That's right.
Because we left that Monday and we had plans for Destiny's birthday the day before we left on Sunday. And we gave him the big bag on Thursday.
Thursday.
And then we come back on Friday and he's still there and he pulls out the bag that he had and it had 3 left in it.
3
We're
left.
like, "You want more?" He goes, "Sure." Give him 2 more bags of 50 and then we watched him make the announcement about free pins, just scan the QR code and swarm.
Yeah. And one of my great takeaways from that encounter was I just kind of stepped back and I watched this one young woman scan the QR code and step back and start watching the gospel video standing right there.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things I really love about how God led me to do this tool for this Olympics because, again, this will have legs. We have no idea how many times or how long people QR code and the seeds that we were planted in those 20 days.
Well, and it was kind of amazing to see because right after we gave Jeff that bag of pins, you were looking at QR code scans and they had skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the time we didn't know that he was making them scan the QR code to get the pin.
Right. We didn't know that till
That
the
was
next
that
day.
night, and so we
Yeah.
went back on Friday, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm making them scan the QR code, and then they'll get the free pin."
Yep.
And since we were in the area in the pin trading place with him when he made the announcement, we had people. At least I had people coming up to me asking me for the pin. I'm like, did you scan the QR code?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, not yet." And I said, "Well, go scan it. Show me you scan it, and I'll give you a pin."
There you go. Yep.
And
Yep.
so I had like 5 people do that with me.
And when you think of logistically in that space, since it was so crowded in such a small space, that was probably the best way we could have had those gospel encounters
Mhm.
because to be able to step aside and have a full-fledged gospel conversation with them was virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you did it a couple times, Destiny.
I did.
Did you really in there? Yeah.
I got some
So,
pictures too.
yeah. So when you, you would go, 'cause you knew the pen traders, or not knew them, but you were able to like
Talk more with
talk
them.
more.
Right.
Like there was more of the people that were there, like just looking at them, seeing
Right.
what kind of free pens we could get.
Right.
This was when not or like this was before Jeff made the announcement
Mhm.
though. They would see my lanyard or like my pens and they'd be like, "Hey, you want to trade?" And so I did more conversations on the side while you were talking to the professional pen
Right.
traders.
Right.
Mhm.
And honestly, that was probably the best way we could have done that because then were like different, like
We
Yeah,
were
the
spread out
pic
enough and we had different
yeah, and
fronts we were covering.
the picture that I got, she was you'll know what I'm talking about. So when we walked in, went to the right in that area right there underneath
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she was in there and I
Kind of
was
away from the
away
table
from the
area.
a
Yeah.
little bit away from the table area, and I
Yeah.
was on the opposite side. And I got a picture over a pin trader's head
Yep.
that I had zoomed in
Yeah.
and got a picture from across
Oh,
the
that's cool.
pin
Yeah.
trading area.
Yeah. That's a good, yeah. It was an interesting place, especially in light of the fact that we were asked to leave 2 days later. And here Jeff had done this 2 full days
Mhm.
in the pin trading area itself,
Yeah, and what
So
I thought was amazing was that the actual police had no problem with
no, we
it.
had shared with every one of
We
them.
had shared with every one of them. What did you get from them, Destiny?
I got
Yeah, Destiny, what did you get from the police?
I got a police badge. So there was a group of them.
By group, it was like 8 or
Like,
10.
Oh,
yeah,
it was when we were outside
that
the South Africa house.
Yeah.
yeah, that was another helpful with the other Jeff because he was the one that like
That was
originally.
Friday.
Yeah.
First got the crowd together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, we were like all 3 of us were kinda sharing, like, we had a couple different conversations because, like, a few of them would be to Jeff, and then they would see what we were doing.
Right.
Well, this
Mhm.
one, let's say, I don't know, he was like very
He was
so
He
much
was like
taller than I
he was like
am.
6'4",
I was gonna
6'7".
say 6'5" at
And
least.
so,
Big guy.
he goes to his shoulder and rips off the patch.
Mhm.
I didn't know he took it off.
Yeah, he took it off
Off his
Really?
shoulder.
Yeah.
I did not know. I thought he
Yes.
just pulled one out of his
No, 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 no,
It
no.
was
Wow.
off his shoulder.
Yeah.
Dude.
And
then
so
okay.
but no,
We
and
have a
so
picture of them side by side.
yes, we
Well,
do.
but say you're like, "Okay, I gotta go back and get a picture with him because you didn't get a picture
Not
of
at
him.
first.
not
It
at
was
That's because he would to Jeff or the other Jeff.
Right.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna get a picture with him because you said or like very rare to get a patch, let alone right off his shoulder.
Yeah. Well, because again, my understanding of so with police badges, my patches, my brother's a police officer here in the St. Louis area. And when we were in Salt Lake in 2002, badges were, I keep saying badges,
Patches.
patches were very common for
Mhm.
police officers to share
Yeah.
and to collect. Well, then, unfortunately, in the world we live in, people were using those to
Mhm.
make fake police uniforms, and they
Mhm.
were being, so they really moved away from.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of police officers now have challenge points.
Coins.
Mhm.
We also got 2024 National Police, the French National Police pins.
And
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So she got one of
From
those
that same group of
from that
guys.
same.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine was from a different group, but same organization.
yeah.
And
See, she isn't just my favorite. She was a bunch of police
I
officers'
know,
favorite
It's
too.
because she's
There is that.
um,
No denying.
but
It's just because
oh yeah,
Well,
that
I thought you were just going to say it's just because I'm Destiny.
uh,
She is our administrative
he's Data.
data, our administrative, our AD, our admin. But yeah,
But yeah,
data.
but no, I watched this happen, and she got a pin from a different police officer,
That was
and then keeps handing them out to the police
To all of them.
because we know that we don't have time to have a full conversation with them
Right.
because they've got stuff to do.
So we're handing the
out
pins
pins
and the cards. Yep.
pins that are attached to cards because
Yep.
we're smart like that.
We are.
Well, some of us are.
Use
Sorry,
that
Jeff.
term we pretty loosely. Just
Yeah, we are. We're the
okay.
college
Okay.
students.
Right. Yeah.
But
Shine on.
and
but
that's
she-
what we did on the third day.
yes, but she goes up to this cop who's probably at least a foot taller than she is.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh.
maybe close to it, and gives him a pin. And next thing I know, he reaches up to his sleeve on his shoulder and pulls off the patch. And
I missed that entirely.
Yeah.
You showed me the patch. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's
yeah,
in
no, he pulled it.
No, that
pulled
is
it
so
off of his
cool.
shoulder. Yeah, it
Yep.
was insane.
It
Yep.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
listen, even shorties can
Hey, short people
Win
have
the
their
day.
advantages.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and to your point, what led us down this road was, we had shared with all the police, not a beef,
Mm-mm.
but the people who were in charge of this
The
area,
private, so it was
private
actually
security
the
team.
the Club France private security is who got onto international sports chaplains,
Yeah.
and then we were right next to them, so we kind of overheard it, but they weren't directly talking to us. So
Yeah,
we're like,
but they knew we were with them.
we're like, we're gonna take a step back,
Yeah,
and kind of get situated because we were just trying to get more pins in our pockets, and
right.
we just
Because
had-
we ran out.
we
the day
ran out,
before.
and we were just getting people coming up to us left and right, and it got to the
Mhm.
point where I'm just handing out pins from my backpack that's on my front, not my
Right,
back.
right.
So I'm just like, here. QR code on the back takes you to our website. Go.
Yeah.
And then you're like, take a step back, take a breath. And so I take a step back, get more pins in my pocket, put the bag back. And then we set out to that pin trading spot.
Yeah.
And we're sitting outside waiting for you after we'd gone in and I'm putting pins on my lanyard and stuff like that. And the volunteer comes up to us because there's a bag of our pins sitting on top of my backpack that I don't realize because
Yeah.
I'm focused on doing other stuff. And she's like, you guys either need to leave or you can stay. You have to stop giving out. And we're like, well, we're just waiting for a friend of ours. Well, I use the term friend loose, but we're waiting for a friend of ours to get done inside, and then we'll be on our way. And then that's when we told you what had happened. But
Yeah.
it wasn't security.
It was a volunteer.
Yeah. It's so.
And I'm pretty sure that was the volunteer that went to. It
it
wasn't
was.
the
Yeah.
private security wasn't on us until that volunteer
And
did something.
once I figured that out, I think that was somebody that I had shared with earlier when I was sitting down because you guys were over here sharing like mad and running on the
Mhm.
pins. I was down around the corner out near South Africa House,
Mhm.
and it's a volunteer that I shared with there was the one who came back around
Yeah.
Yeah.
when we were getting kicked out, and I think she's the one who pulled the trigger on us. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, again, at the end of the day, I mean, the only disappointment I had is we had loaded you up as
Oh, I was
pack meal for the day with 250 pins.
in my backpack.
And we were hoping to give away all of them that day, and we gave away a lot of them, but we came back,
Probably gave out. We probably gave out about half of what we
Yeah,
took with us.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
even
and we would have done them all had we not been
kicked out.
asked to leave. Yeah,
Oh, sorry, we didn't get kicked out. Got asked to leave.
we were asked to leave. We were not escorted out like our friends.
No, we were not.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, thanks again. Help me remember the original story we started with.
Luca. It
Luca.
was Luca at
That's right.
the women's road cycling race.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
we ended up at Park
Park
The
the
Nations.
Nations
Park
getting
Nations
asked
getting that.
somebody.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
our short stories are getting long. That's what
Yes.
I know. All right. Thanks again for tuning in today for today's short story or short-ish story. And we really do appreciate you guys tuning in and checking us out. We want to invite you to come out on Sunday, September 29th, 3 p.m. at Concord Church in South St. Louis County on Tesson Ferry, where we will be having desserts and drinks. We'll be sharing stories, pictures, videos. We'll have our pens there. And very excited about the opportunity to share and share more. These are just some of the stories. I mean, when I first came up with this idea of 30 stories in 30 days, people are like, "Are you going to have anything left to say?" I'm like, "Oh, we're going to have anything left to say." I
Yeah.
mean, we have
Yeah.
hundreds of gospel conversations, right?
We gave out almost 1,600 pins.
Right,
There.
right.
Yeah.
Over half, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got plenty of stories. So these are just to whet your appetite.
And
And
don't forget about we're trying to do the live stream for the viewers that can't come.
that is true.
Sadly, there's no desserts for you, but you
No,
can make a bowl
you
of
can,
popcorn.
And you can still have a drink at your house.
Yes.
Yes, and we're working on live streaming that, and we will get that posted to beyondtherings.net as soon as we have all those details ironed out. For now, thanks for tuning in. We hope you'll tune in with us again next time. Till then, thanks.